Welcome to The Explainer. You ever have that feeling where you're working so hard to solve a problem but you're just spinning your wheels? Well, today we're diving into a really wild idea that our best efforts to fix things, everything from traffic jams to work-life balance, might actually be doomed from the very start. So I want you to picture this. It comes from a philosophical dialogue. Imagine a whole group of blind men, and they're all riding on blind horses. But here's the kicker. Every single one of them is absolutely convinced they know the way. Now, this isn't just some clever riddle. It's actually a diagnosis of a huge human error.
And that really gets to the heart of what we're unpacking today. What if our most frustrating, persistent problems stick around because we're those blind riders? We're just charging ahead with all our solutions, so sure of our direction, but we literally can't see the real problem right in front of us.
So where does this blindness actually come from? According to the source material for this explainer, the issue isn't that we lack clever solutions. No, the problem is way, way deeper than that. It's all about our starting point. The teacher in this dialogue, they point to this core principle, sin wigen bun. It basically means the heart is the root. The argument is that every single problem we face, from a societal one like traffic laws to a personal one like anxiety, it all stems from our inner state. Our clarity, our quality, our heart. So this internal blindness, it's a state of confusion, greed, and just having the wrong ideas. We see the symptom, right? The traffic jam, the burnout, but we are completely blind to the real cause, which is hidden in our own ways of thinking and planning. And because of that, all our efforts feel like a blind horse carrying a blind rider. Lots of movement, sure, but zero real progress.
To really get this idea of inner quality, the source uses this metaphor of different metals. And look, this is super important. It's not about judging someone's worth. It's about understanding their fundamental nature. So for instance, someone with a gold nature, like Marie Curie, might be flexible enough to be amazing at both her family life and her scientific work. But someone with an iron nature, they have this incredible strength for a totally different purpose. The point isn't about which is better, it's that knowing your own nature is the absolute key to living an authentic life.
Okay. Let's bring this down to earth. How does this whole philosophy actually apply to a problem that, let's be honest, drives us all nuts? The endless, soul-crushing traffic jam. I mean, think about it. For 30 years, the source says experts and scientists have been studying this. They've poured their entire careers into solving urban gridlock, and nothing. It's still here. The teacher argues it's because they are all asking the wrong questions. They're all still wearing the blindfold. And right here, you can see the two approaches clear as day. The blind approach, which is what we always do, it just treats the symptom. Too many cars. So we widen the roads, we build overpasses, we add more subways. But the seeing approach asks a totally different question. Why are all these people trying to get to the exact same place at the exact same time? And boom, there it is, the big insight. The problem isn't the cars. It's the greedy, centralized design of the city itself. If you create self-sufficient zones, little neighborhoods where people can live, work, and shop, you completely eliminate the need for that massive daily commute. You solve the problem by yanking it out by the root, not by just trimming the leaves. All right, so let's shift gears now. We're moving off the highway and into our own lives to see how this idea builds. We're going to tackle one of the biggest buzzwords of our time, that endless quest for work-life balance. The teacher in this source, they drop a bombshell. They call the entire idea of balance malicious. I mean, malicious. Why such a crazy strong word? Because the argument is that chasing after it is actively hurting us. Okay, so here's the thinking. The world, by its very nature, is unbalanced. Just look around. No two mountains are the same height. No two people have the exact same skills or energy. The problem starts when we try to force this rigid, totally artificial idea of equilibrium onto a world that's naturally messy and uneven. And this
This is where it gets absolutely brutal. If you demand perfect balance, what happens when your job needs you to stay late to nail a huge project? Well, to keep your balance, you have to cut your work ambition short. And what happens when a family member is sick and really needs you? Well, to keep the balance, you have to cut your family time short to get back to work. You end up, in the teacher's words, murdering both sides, making sure you never really give your all to your career or your family.
So if balance is a trap, what are we supposed to do? Well, instead of forcing this fake balance, the advice is to understand your own nature, your quality. Are you gold? Are you iron? Are you copper? Figure out who you are and then live that truth. Some people are just built to pour everything into their work, others into their family. And a very few, the gold quality people like Marie Curie, can somehow master both at a high level. The goal isn't balance, it's authenticity. Okay, so if we're all just riding these blind horses, chasing unsolvable problems because we're starting with flawed ideas, how do we stop? How do we finally, open our eyes? Let's be real. This is how most of us operate, right? Especially when we're stressed. We're looking for the trick, the shortcut, the exam hack. We study just enough to pass the test. The source calls this blindly guessing. We think we know the way, but we're really just closing our eyes and hoping for the best. And the advice for how to fix this? It's almost ridiculously simple. To stop being blind, you just have to open your eyes. That means diving into real, diligent learning. It means you absorb knowledge to actually understand the world, not just to hit some short-term goal. You read, you study, you fix your mistakes over and over until that knowledge becomes a part of who you are. And then you can see. And that's where we'll leave it, with a question for you. Whether it's how we should be solving traffic, or how to live a good life, or even how to learn something new. Which of your most deeply held beliefs might actually be a blind horse? This whole dialogue suggests that maybe the most powerful thing we can do isn't to find a new answer, but to finally question the direction we were so sure about all along.